Well, a warm welcome to Match Day Live. My name is Ty Hadj, I'll be your presenter for today. EFL Championship action as Leicester City take on Ipswich Town, top of the table clash. The teams are in, so let's take a look at how both teams will line up for today. For Leicester City, Hamza Chowdhury into the lineup at right back. Tom Cannon starts up front, Mavididi on the wing, alongside McAteer, Dewsbury, Hall, Ricardo. In midfield, Winks just behind them, just in at left back. Vestergaard, Fass holding it down as the centre-back positions. And of course in goal, Hermansen. That's the Leicester City side for today. And for Ipswich Town, they will start as follows. Ladke in goal, Edmondson altered in at centre-back, Clark right back, Davis at left back, new loanee signing from Blackburn Rovers, Lewis Travis starts for Ipswich Town against Luongo, Chaplin, Burns and Harness supporting Jackson up front. Well, joining me today in the studio are two guests, two former Leicester City players. We have Ewan Roberts and Matt Elliott. Big game tonight, fellas.
Massive game. I mean, the two teams have been head-to-head top of the Championship until the weekend, when obviously Southampton won again, and which meant Ipswich moved down to third. I was at Portman Road on Boxing Day. Got you a trip down to Sheffield, didn't I? Got you a trip down to Sheffield.
It's in the memory bank, don't worry.
A really good game. Leicester, the best team in the first half. Ipswich, the best team in the second half. And it took that wicked deflected shot to beat Hermansen on the night in the last seconds of the game to win a point for Ipswich. But I mean, you're talking about two teams who have scored 103 goals between them in the Championship. I can't see it being a dour 0-0 draw. I really can't.
I mean, that's what we're hoping for. And of course, it's a sold-out stadium, Matt. You know, 3,300 Ipswich fans in a Monday night game is going to be great.
Yeah, it's similar to the first game, really. I mean, it was a sellout in terms of away fans from Leicester's point of view. And that was on Boxing Day, wasn't it? And then they travelled to Cardiff not long after.
Yeah, 29th.
So both clubs, well followed by both sets of supporters historically and presently, and understandably so. They're both playing very good football, aren't they? Easy on the eye, entertaining to watch, and productive as well. You know, first and third, in the league. Keep getting used to Ipswich being up there. Southampton have crept their way up, but it is a huge game without a doubt. You know, lots to play for obvious reasons, and I've been speaking to various people tonight. You know, on the way into the stadium, at the stadium here, and I was going, "What do you reckon? What do you reckon?" Nobody knows. Nobody knows really. It's one of those games, isn't it?
Well, if form is anything to go by, we have to, of course, support Leicester City in getting a result today. But let's find out what's coming up next here on Matchday Live on Fox's Hub. We're going to be having a chance to reflect on the loss against Coventry City. Lots to talk about there. Great penalty from Dewsbury Hall, but just before half-time, the red come from Fatau. And we hear from the manager, Enzo Maresca, ahead of the match tonight. And we'll also be having a look at some classic goals as we dug through the VHS tapes to pull this one out of the bag. Ewan Roberts there, he said just before the show, he's not scored many like that, Ewan.
Not from just outside the box, absolutely not. In the 6-yard box, scored a few of them, but
you don't mind if that's blurred or black and white. That sort of goal, mate.
How did I outpace the centre half there?
Times are changing, aren't
they?
I mean, look at the state of that pitch. It might give you an upper hand.
I wasn't bad on those sort of pitches.
Well, let's take a look at the team news then. Of course, Leicester City, some changes there. Chowdhury at right back. You know, let's talk about that first, Ewan.
Yeah, he's played there before this season. I think he's looked comfortable there. I saw him in his first time at right back where he played at Carrow Road. Played ever so well. He was up against Jonathan Rowe, the young lad that's flying for Norwich this season. And he never gave him a kick, to be fair. I mean, you just have to look at how Ricardo has taken to that sort of inverted midfield role and the chances that he's created, the goals that he's scored, the positions that he gets in the opposition's penalty box. And maybe that's why he's got the nod to play as an out-and-out attacking midfielder more than Hamza Chowdhury tonight. But you know, Hamza won't let Leicester down at that right back. And Nathan Broadhead, he's not starting for Ipswich, which does surprise me. which probably might have caused Hamza a few problems. But he's more than capable of performing well at right back.
Well, Matt, we've seen that with Ndidi this season as well, moved to a slightly different role, slightly different position. But Maresca's seen skills and attributes that have actually, proven to be successful for him. Is that a similar case with Chowdhury today?
For Hamza, yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. I think obviously in a different position. Ndidi's been switched to playing that more advanced midfield role, and that's somewhere that's worth talking about tonight with Ricardo filling that role. But yeah, Chowdhury. Listen, I've said it ever since he's broken onto the scene, really, because I know him from his younger days when he was a teenager. I was working in the academy, and I'm sure, right, memory sometimes blurs the mind, doesn't it, a bit? Or time blurs the memory, so whichever way round it is. Hamza used to be a fullback, out-and-out fullback, before he got converted to holding.
Is that where he started, Mike?
Yeah, and trust me, not many people get past him 1v1. He's as good a tackler as there is in the whole 4 leagues. He's got sort of like kaleidoscope legs, hasn't he? And he's quick, he's nimble,
timing,
he's aggressive as well. And he don't get it wrong too often. When he does, it's a bit of a horror show sometimes, admittedly. But although I had to eat my words a little bit, because he played right back against Tottenham at a Wembley fixture when they were away from White Hart Lane in the transition period, and he was a bit shaky in truth, but he's developed from that now, and no worries about him whatsoever. He'll spend as much time in midfield as he will do fullback anyway, and he's equally adept at both.
Well, let's talk about McAteer coming back into the side, of course. Fatau was suspended from the Coventry game. He was flying at the start of the season before his injury, McAteer. Is it taking some time for him to get back into things? Do you think he's going to pick up where he left off?
I hope so. He was sat on this sofa next to me before the Millwall game, I think it was. And I mean, a fantastic young lad. He's taken his opportunity this season superbly. And you're right, he was flying before he pulled that hamstring. I think he'd scored 4 in his last 5 games before what happened at Ewood Park. And you could just tell it was a bad one. And I think we sort of had a recurrence of that a few weeks ago. But now, I think he's fully fit. He's over that hamstring problem, and he's a real threat down that right hand side. And what I like, he just doesn't stay on that right hand side and admires the play when it's been built up down the left hand side. He gets in really good areas. So, some of his goals. The goal against Southampton was a magnificent finish. The goal against Leicester, where it's an easy one for him, but he's in the right place at the right time. He's got that sort of centre forwards instinct, if you like, of being in the right place when that ball gets played into the box.
And the last thing I really want to talk about in regards to the team, we're going to hear a little bit from him later on. Enzo Maresca, of course, he's not going to be on the touchline today. How do you think that will change the dynamic for the team today, mate?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. He is an influence, without doubt. I mean, you see him there on the sideline. He will profess, and, probably justifiably, all the work that's been done off the pitch, on the training pitch and in the build-up pre-season even, and all the way through now, but it's constantly progressing and developing. But I think with Maresca, he seems more influential than most, because he is there speaking to the players tactically, isn't he, a lot. But having said that, listen, they all know their jobs, don't they, regardless of... He talks many times about the squad and the capability of it, and players coming in and out.
I mean, that's one of the key things. He's not on the sideline shouting. He's not a shouty manager. He lets the players really do their thing.
He does. But I watch him sometimes, and he does get little personal points across. He pulls them over when there's a break, whatever. Most managers do, but you see that it feels like it has a profound effect from Maresca. Having said that, just pass things through to the bench when he's still in the crowd, isn't he? He can still relay his thoughts and that, and so I can't see it being a major issue, no.
Well, let's take a look at the last game that Leicester City played. Of course, the M69 derby. It was a big day out for the Leicester City fans. They travelled in their numbers. Over 4,000 fans headed over to Coventry, and what a game it was. Let's take a look at the highlights.
MATCHDAY towards the edge of the box, on his right foot, lays it off for Dewsbury Hall. Brilliant work to Cassidy. Oh, and it's just wide, inches wide of the far post. Almost a perfect goal from Leicester, with brilliant play by Dewsbury Hall and Cannon. One that Dan and the lads can look back over at half-time in the studio. Oh, it's a penalty! And a yellow card. Dewsbury Hall chasing down a ball into the box. And immediately the referee, who was was just as quick to say no penalty moments ago, immediately pointed to the spot when Dewsbury Hall took a tumble. Dewsbury Hall weighs up his options and places it into the bottom left-hand corner, and those 4,500 fans are jumping for delight because Leicester City have taken the lead here in the local derby. The thud is the challenge, and Cannon nearly got Fatawu in. It was an important interception by Thomas. Fatawu has gone diving into a challenge. It's a red card for Abdul Fatawu. Here is Ellie Sims, wears number 9. Spent all of last season on loan in the Championship. Callum O'Hare, it's Van de Gat to score through a crowd of players just inside the penalty area. Right-footed, just on the out of the reach of Matt Hermansen in front of those Leicester fans. Sakamoto, not sure if he's caught that wrong, but it's come to the edge of the area. Jamie Allen's header back into the box, initially dealt with by Chowdhury, and it's in! And it's Van Iwick, who may have won it late here at the CBS Arena. 3 minutes of normal time. There's a step over, thought he'd go to the corner flag, but he's continued. Godden shot, charged down by Chowdhury, and Callum O'Hare will put the icing on the cake for Coventry City in the M69 derby. He has a double and he clinches it.
Well, there you have it, the highlights from the M69 derby. I mentioned it was a great game. Only if you're a neutral fan, you would have enjoyed watching that. If you're a Leicester City fan, of course, it wouldn't have been the greatest watch. We started positively, though, Ewan, you know. We were getting in the right spaces. We were attacking. We were dealing with the noise in the stadium as well. And we won the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, they had a couple of chances early in that first half. I think it was it O'Hare with a shot, and Hermanson's put it onto the post in the opening 3 or 4 minutes, and then Cassidy has that really good chance where he doesn't even hit the target. Has to do better there. We win the penalty. It was a penalty. Could it have been a red card? I saw a similar incident on Saturday where defenders won the ball, but his momentum's taken him through and caught the opposition player. Straight red card. So Thomas on another day, depends what referee you have, could have received a red card for that. Dewsbury Hall took the penalty ever so well, kept his cool, kept his composure, and then probably the incident that turns the game into Coventry's favour. You know, it was a reckless challenge. You don't get away with those these days when you throw yourself in, as Fatawu did. But saying that, you know, Leicester stayed in the game. They looked quite comfortable. They were punished for a mad 15-minute period towards the end of that second half where Coventry scored 3 goals.
Well, I mean, you're running out of steam by that point, of course. You know, 10 men down in that situation. Your thoughts on the red card as well, Matty?
Yeah.
You know how to tackle. We know that.
I know how to get a red card.
Yeah, you know how to get a red card too.
You mean.
But tell us your thoughts on that tackle. Me and you have spoken. We thought there was a lot of intention behind the challenge.
I thought it was a red card, certainly with the current day rulings as they are. He did come off the ground with both feet, albeit for an instant. He's lost control there. He's gone in a little bit wild. It's unnecessary, and if the lad hadn't had his foot off the ground, had it planted, you're talking big trouble. There you go. It's full-blooded, isn't it?
Would you say maturity is an element of a game that Fatawu's going to learn over time? Of course, he came from Sporting Lisbon B, and now he's in the Championship. This is a good level of football. It just seems like a little bit of an immature challenge, emotionally fueled.
Yeah, slightly sort of impetuous, wasn't it? But he's not a bad lad. Like, he hasn't gone flying in to do the opponent there. I mean, you saw afterwards he's sort of apologising for himself, and he probably realises, what was I doing? But it was out of enthusiasm and desperation to win the ball back, really, out of frustration. But for me, there wasn't any real intent. It was just overly aggressive and a little bit loose and reckless, wasn't it? But shame. Like missing 3 games now. So you've got to learn. You've got to learn. It's not just. And
of course, the conversation is that he didn't have the chance to go to AFCON, and and now he's out for 3 games here as well. But let's talk about the resilience of this squad, because we haven't lost 2 games in a row since Leeds Middlesbrough. So bouncing back from this Coventry loss is something that we're used to seeing.
Well, after the Borough defeat, I was working out earlier. What is it 10 games, 8 wins, 2 draws in December, 17 points from, not more than that, 8 games played. I think it was something like 20 points. So it was a magnificent sort of reaction to those back-to-back defeats against Leeds and against Middlesbrough. And 9 times out of 10, after they've suffered a defeat, and let's be honest, it hasn't happened too many times for Leicester this season, they've reacted positively and gone on to win the next game.
Without a doubt. Well, we're going to move on now, and we're going to talk about Patson Daka. Of course, he was voted the PFA Player of the Month, and he's had a great run of form before going into AFCON, and he scored 3 goals out there. At the moment, 2 versus Uganda, when versus Cameroon, he was coming off 4 goals, 2 assists here. Matty, Patson Daka, Player of the Month.
Yeah, obviously delighted for him, and do his confidence a world of good. For me, given the opportunities provided with the service, not a problem for him in this division. I think he is a good goal scorer. We're seeing evidence of that. Yeah, now looking at the clips, he knows where the goal is. His all-round game for me still needs developing, still needs progress. His awareness spatially in terms of his runs and his reliability in holding the ball up and laying it off. It breaks down a little bit too often for me, but given service in good areas, he's pretty reliable, pretty formidable, really. As are Leicester generally, in this division, you're seeing.
So what is the difference? What is the difference between Daka now than when he was playing in the Premier League? Do you think it's just a slightly changed the level of the game, and now he's easily able to adjust?
To be fair, centre forwards don't get too much of the game in the way that Maresca and Leicester City play. So you don't get too many times on the ball and too much influence in the game, other than where it really matters, i.e. goals and the odd assist. So on that front, he's been excellent. Well, I don't think his general round performance has been that amazing, if I'm honest, to warrant Player of the Month. But his goals and assists,
the stats.
Listen, yeah, exactly. Take what you can while you can. He's done well. He's filled in, as has Tom Cannon. It's a tough choice now between the 4. In terms of progress from last year, I don't know. We can't really say because it's only been a short amount of games that he's had. He's got to be, but it's got to be relevant to standard of opposition, and then also producing that week in, week out over a long period of time. We're yet to see whether he will or not. Will he get the opportunity at the Premier League again? Don't know. It seems a long way off at the moment, isn't it? There's all sorts of eventualities.
We've got to talk a bit about his mental strength because he had been sidelined for a little while.
Front.
He's not played for ages. He's come back in, and now he's scoring goals.
It must have been a really frustrating time for him. Yeah. He was probably, when you look at the options in that position, he was probably the 4th choice. Behind Jamie Vardy, Iheanacho. Tom Cannon, he was signed in the summer, but he was injured with a back problem, so probably 3rd choice. Time and time again, he was on the bench, but he wasn't really coming off. So it's not been an easy sort of few months for Patson. He's had to be patient, and he's been given his opportunity, and that's not an easy role to play, especially it probably hasn't got the physical attributes to play that lone striker role because he's not the biggest. He's not great with his back to goal. Anything that's played forward, through the lines, he's onto it like a shot. And we've always known that he can score goals. At this level in the Championship, he'll get more chances, and as he's proven. I was a little bit surprised he got the PFA Player of the Month because I think Mavididi got 5 goals in December. So I think Steffi can count myself a little bit, but he's got that beaming smile. He's got that fantastic goal celebration that I would even try to do in my prime. And when all 4 are fit, when all 4 are here at the King Power, it's 4 really good options for Enzo.
Well, Foxes fans, your chance to make sure you can watch all of the action. Let's take a look at our match day passes. Of course, it's restricted viewing for the video of today's game. And for all the Leicester City fans around the world, you can listen to today's game live on Fox's Hub. But what we're going to do next is we're going to hear from the manager, Enzo Maresca. He had his press conference over at Seagrave. So let's hear what he had to say.
No, complacency, I think, is not something that we are allowed to do it in terms of there are still 19 games, many games to play, and we are in this moment 10 points from the third. So it's not about complacency, it's just to play game by game, and at the end we see where we are, and we're gonna see. But as I said, if we think that we are not allow, or we are not going to lose a game where we were with 10 players from the first half, it's complicated. We just go game by game.
Can I just finally ask you about the game itself? Obviously, it's fairly recently you played Ipswich. What impressed you most on Boxing Day? What did you learn about them that night?
No, they are an unbelievable team, and you can see from last year what they have done last year and this year. And the good thing about them is that they are already working with the same manager and with the same idea. It's already a long time, so that helps a lot. And you can see that what they do fantastic.
What reaction have you seen from the players following the game against Coventry City, coming back into training this week?
The immediately after game, the mood was not the best one, simply because we lost the game. But then, as we said before, we move on. I don't think there is any problem to lose a game that we lose last week. And the mood is immediately after game, we were not happy, nobody was happy. And then after 2 days, we start to think about the Ipswich game.
You are suspended on the touchline for the game on Monday night. What challenges will that pose for you, trying to lead the team from in the stands?
No, anyway, there is Willie, there is Danny on the bench. They're gonna be there to try to help the team in the way I do when I'm on the bench. Nothing more. It's nothing different, or we need to have a plan. How we have two person there, and I will be also in contact with them, but no more than that.
You could go 10 points clear of Ipswich if you beat them. Does that mean anything to you at this point in the season?
No, because we can also go 4 points. It's now, from now to the end, it's always a game or a chance where you can go more or same points or less points, but that means nothing, because if we go 10 points, we have still 18 games to play. If we maintain the same distance, 7 points is the same ones, 18 games to go, and if we draw points, will be exactly the same. It's still long race, but we are happy in the position we are now.
Well, there is the thoughts of Enzo Maresca ahead of this one. I mean, the first question was asked, are Leicester City becoming complacent?
No, I mean, I don't think that whatsoever. 1 defeat in 12 in all competitions. You're going to get setbacks in whatever sport you play. You're going to get setbacks. You're not going to win every game. It's how you react to those setbacks, and we've seen with this team that they're really positive in the way they sort of react to a negative, if you like. I mean, there's 3 consecutive home games coming up. You know, this one tonight, the cup game against Birmingham, and a week tomorrow night, Swansea come into the King Power. Leicester have been unbelievable at home. I mean, they've won their last 5 at the King Power, won 9 out of their last 10, kept 7 clean sheets in those games, conceded only 4 goals. And I think with the experienced pros that you've got in this Leicester City squad, there is not a chance that complacency will drift in.
No, the manager wouldn't allow it either.
Of course.
And the pros, and they know the prize, don't they? You know, listen, if you're going to be complacent, away against Coventry is not a place to do that. I don't think they're guilty of that. They just didn't perform to their potential on the day. Coventry were very good.
And they were down to 10 men for the second half.
Yeah, Dusty Sell. Yeah, a couple of external reasons and internal. And listen, dust yourself down, get on with tonight. Even if it goes wrong tonight,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, go again. I'm sure Leicester will have enough.
Well, Enzo Maresca, you know, as most managers do in their press conferences, they talk about this game-by-game approach.
Yeah.
But, you know, in his own little office, he'll be thinking, right, these next 3 home games, as you mentioned, I could get 9 points out of these 3 home games here. But from a player's perspective, are they more focused on the game-by-game approach, take each game as it comes?
Yeah, probably the same in equal measure, I would say, managers and player, really. I know what you mean. Managers maybe look at the bigger picture more often.
Yeah.
Perhaps that is the case, but you're not going to find Maresca admitting to that. But no, I think, you know, you can get yourself in a little bit of a muddle there. As Maresca said, there, you know, we could be 10 points clear. You know, he gets asked similar questions every week. You could be 14 points clear of third, and etc., etc. You could be achieving a record. You could be doing lots of things. It's what you do that matters. So just focus on that, really. You know, start thinking, if you're worried about if we lose, we'll only be 4 points ahead of Ipswich. You know, if that makes you a little bit nervous, then that's a negative. So get on with your game. You don't want any outside distractions. Sorry. You know, just watching now on the second screen there, Ipswich coming to town. It's a huge game for them. Leicester know tonight that they're going to be in for a real battle tonight, because they are. So Ipswich are a team that can look at the table as it is and go, listen, we win tonight, 4 points. If we lose tonight, it's 10 points behind, complete opposite to Leicester. And then they're thinking, are we really going to catch Leicester? In their mind, they're probably going to, if they're honest, they'll say probably not. So it's a huge game for them. Leicester got to be up for the task as well.
Well, then you touched upon Ipswich. You and Maresca spoke about the familiarity of Ipswich. Of course, they got promoted and they've retained a lot of their squad members, and they're playing a similar style of football. They're on the same page. You know, they've not had to deal with that challenge, and they've only added some great talent. You know, from Blackburn Rovers, they've added Lewis Travis, and also from Brighton on loan, they've got Sarmiento as well. To their experience for them.
And that's what they needed. You know, I've looked at this Ipswich squad, and I'm not just saying this from a former Norwich centre forwards point of view. You know, I just think the only thing that would let them down is if Kieran McKenna was approached by another club, or I questioned the strength and depth that they had. As you say, they've sort of maintained the nucleus of the team that got them promoted. You know, you're talking about a side last year who finished second, but they got over 100 points, scored over 100 goals in League One. And I like that, and I respect that he's given the lads that have got them to the next step, because I think they spent 5 years in League One. Many managers tried to get them out of it, failed. He's gone in, he's done a fantastic job, and he's given the lads who got them to the Championship the opportunity, and those lads have thrived. And I think the two, especially Travis, you know, I've seen him a few times for Blackburn. I think he's a real dynamo in that midfield area. Likes to tackle, likes the physical. Even though he's not the biggest of central midfielders, he doesn't mind the physical aspect of the game. You know, it's going to be a tough test for Leicester City. Absolutely. You know, they've got the best defensive record away from home in the league of Ipswich, which surprised me a little bit, because that's been their Achilles heel. They've scored plenty of goals, especially at home. They've just conceded far too many. But, you know, maybe they approach a game away from home slightly different to what they do at Portman Road. And it'll be interesting tonight whether they'll play on that front foot with that intensity, you know, when they get men forward, as they do at Portman Road against Leicester tonight here at the King Power.
Well, we're not too far away from kickoff. It's time to check in with our commentator in the booth. Our analyst today in the booth is Jerry Taggart. How you doing, Jerry? Is it cold outside, my friend?
It's getting that way here, I'll be honest with you, but so far so good, as I say. I've got the hat and gloves at the ready.
Well, let's take your thoughts then, Jerry, on the starting lineup for today. What's your thoughts on Leicester's lineup? Yeah,
pretty much as I thought it would be. Ricardo, I believe, going into that number 8 role, attacking midfield role, which we've seen him do there before to great effect. And obviously Hamza, who's coming in and securing that right back stroke, coming into midfield and just giving that little bit of extra security. So.
And then, of course, the opponents and how they line up today. Any thoughts on their team?
Well, I think, you know, with the miss of Sam Morsey's leadership, No, it's a big miss for Ipswich today. So for me, the key element of this game is how will they cope with the pressure that Leicester will put them under, the expected pressure that Leicester will put them under without Morrissey in the middle of that pitch.
Do you think we'll see more of the ball, just as we're used to seeing at King Power Stadium?
Yeah, I think so. I think Ipswich will come here tonight, probably go a little bit more solid than they do at home, where, by all accounts at home, it's just a full-out offensive formation. I think tonight they'll give Leicester a bit more respect and try and hit them on the counter-attack.
And then finally from you, Jerry, your score prediction for tonight. What are you going with?
I'll go for a Leicester City 2-1 home win. How's that?
2-1 home win. Not a clean sheet, but it's all right. A victory's most important there, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you stay warm, my friend. We'll be back with you very shortly. Jerry Taggart in the media commentary booth right now, getting very cold whilst we're warming this studio right here. Well, look, we want to hear from more Ipswich Town journalist Alex Jones, who works for the Ipswich Star. Let's find out what he had to say about his team.
I was a little bit surprised in the way that Leicester didn't really try and go kill the game off, to be honest. I think that there were real chances kind of midway through the second half to go and put the pressure on. Town knew that they had to go and attack to get something from the game. And there was a chance, I thought, to just go and hit on the counter. And there was space for them to go in and make that 2-0 and really put the game to bed at Portman Road. But I was really impressed with how Town managed the game. That was really impressive. A bit of fortune with the late goal, a couple of deflections there. I think it has gone down as an own goal. I think that's probably fair enough. But I think it was overall what they deserved from the game. There's a sense that you look at the results and think, wow, it was kind of around 5 winless over the festive period. There were a few really disappointing ones in there. The expectation was obviously going into around mid-December that they beat Norwich, which was the one they really wanted to go and win. They beat QPR, who were quite poor. That ended as a 0-0 draw, albeit that the circumstances around that with a medical incident at the game and also with a real issue with selection and injuries, fitness, all those kind of things played into that. And that kind of dragged into the Stoke game on New Year's Day as well. So those 3 ended in draws. But I think that perspective is the most important thing, in a sense that Town have lost the fewest games of anyone in the league, which is absolutely astonishing. And also the fact as well that this is Ipswich and 3 teams that were playing Premier League football last season. I think probably all 3 would be mid-table in the Premier League, to be honest. If they were in it this year, that they're all strong sides on another year would all be miles clear at the top of the league. You look at a side like Southampton, who've gone unbeaten since, I think, almost since Town last played them in September, and they're still 3rd. Shows how strong this division is at the top end.
Position view from Ipswich Town journalist from the Ipswich Star, Alex Jones. Matt, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts on what he had to say about Ipswich?
Yeah, I thought he was quite honest, quite frank about it. He wasn't biased towards Ipswich. You mentioned there about the opposite game down at Portman Road. I agree with him in terms of Leicester. I thought Leicester were a better side in the first half. You were mentioning it, and there were opportunities to go and really force home their superiority. I thought at times, I thought the opportunity was there to go and seize the 3 points, but listen, I suppose it's to be expected. Ipswich at home, good side, and everything that goes with it. Leicester don't. Maybe are guilty of expecting too much sometimes. They don't often dominate throughout. There's little phases where they drop off a bit, and the opposition have got opportunities, to claw their way back against them. Or and sometimes it's down to the sort of lack of quality from the teams in this league that they don't capitalise. Yeah. Coventry last weekend did, and they were persistent at it, and you weren't that surprised when they got their equaliser. But the circumstances around that. But no, I look at it, and tonight I'm thinking this game could go any which way. any which way. It's on the night, isn't it? But yeah, it was interesting what Alex said about perspective, etc. But I don't think their manager will be thinking about perspective. He'll be thinking, this is an opportunity. Come on, because perspective to me means, well, look where we were last year.
Yeah.
Haven't we done well? As if, like, you know, we've done well even if things don't quite go our way. I don't think the manager will be portraying that or relaying that sort of
Well, he wants to have a
attitude.
winning mindset.
Exactly. He's going to be thinking, boys, you got here and you're not half of what you can be. You're capable of going on and really doing something special. Come on, tonight's the night. So
well,
they're going to be a tough proposition.
I mean, their form is good now. You know, they drew 3 games. They've won 2 on the bounce, one of them in the FA Cup, 6 points from the last 5 games. But that will set them in good stead tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they've won 1 in 6 in the league, but as you say, I think 3 of them have been draws. They had a decent result last time round in the Championship, when they were desperate for a win because of the run that we've spoken about. They were a goal down against Sunderland, showed the character and the resilience to come back at home and win 2-1. But can you imagine how they feel? I mean, they must have been about 10 points clear at Southampton only a few weeks ago. And all of a sudden, Southampton have closed that gap, leapfrogged them into second. I think had you offered Ipswich, and any Ipswich fan, a top 6 finish at the start of the season, they would have snapped your hand off. I just think top 2 is a little bit beyond them because of the power and the strength of your Leeds, your Southamptons, and your Leicesters. You know, the top 4 in this division have ran away with it. You know, Leicester being the best side in the division, but you know, make no bones about it, Ipswich have had a fantastic season up to now.
Which makes this game that bit bigger again, doesn't it? Because I have to agree with you there. But when you're saying if things don't go well for Ipswich tonight, and then with the disappointment maybe, whatever you want to call it, of Southampton overtaking them, and then all of a sudden, how did that happen? And all of a sudden, it's a long haul for the rest of the season, isn't it, from their point of view? So
I guess that's the experience being added, as we mentioned already, Travis. They are in danger of being that team that have a great first run in the season, a first half of the season, then all of a sudden, because of the lack of experience, the lack of depth in the squad,
I think that will give them I think those 2 players will give them a big lift, because when you need fresh blood into the squad, new faces, that tends to do that, in all honesty. And because I said about the strength in depth, probably out the top 8 teams in that division, they've got the weakest squad, numbers-wise, I mean about that. So, you know, getting 2 fresh faces in and getting them in early in the month as well, I think it will definitely galvanise and lift the dressing room.
Well, we're going to take a look at some classic goals now between Leicester City and Ipswich Town. We had to rummage in the attic of King Power, look at the VHS tapes, dust them all off. I had to send it to the media team to change some of the pixelation, but we picked out a Ewan Roberts brace for you. So let's take a look at classic goals.
Good ball in, and Claridge and Roberts, they have got a goal back. Credit to Lewis as well for his part in it, and the new strike force pays dividend. A little flick by Claridge, Lewis with a marvellous cross. Claridge just touched it on, and Roberts finished it off. Now they might get a goal at the other end. Roberts, yes! Can you believe this game at times? It could have been dead and buried 30 seconds ago for Leicester. Now they've got real hope.
Wow.
Well, the first one, he was offside. He tripped himself up and fell over.
Absolutely not.
Hit his head and went in. Second one, his touch was too heavy. It was going to be a tackle. He loved the tackle, and he had to hit it early.
If they'd had VAR in the mid-70s, I would have been onside, I'm telling you. But we lost. We lost.
No, the second one, good finish.
Ian Marshall scored a brace for...
I thought that was Marshy sort of era.
Yeah,
I recognised the kit.
Scored, they beat us 3-2, and Marshy scored.
Oh, there's no point in scoring then, was there? Marshy.
You know, it was
He's
lucky,
a bugger, isn't he, Marshy?
It was a lucky ground for me. Portman Road scored twice there for Norwich, scored twice there for Watford, and scored twice there for the Foxes as well. So yeah,
I played for Ipswich for a little while back in my career for 3 months on loan.
How did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I had a great time. come and be, Joe Royle was the manager.
Big Joe.
He phoned me, he said, come and be the king of Suffolk. And I thought to myself, that sounds all right, I'll have a bit of that.
Norfolk already had a king.
It wasn't a long reign 3 months, Matty.
No, the Prince of Thieves I became. Or something.
Oh, dear.
But no, great time. Good club, good support, whatever. Lovely stadium, etc. We had a good time. Marcus Bent, Darren Bent, yeah. Darren Bent up top and a few other Jim Magilton, good players. Lost out in the playoff semi-final to West Ham. We went under a little bit. Anyway, I digress.
We all do.
Yeah, I've got an affection for both teams. Obviously, Leicester's back in them all the way.
Compare 3 months on.
No. Mind you, when you played as well as I did there.
Both
no, not at all. I'm not comparing at all. I'm not guilty of that, by the way. No. Cut. But, looking forward to tonight. It's going to be, we said before, it's going to be a real humdinger. The goals weren't flying in, but it was entertaining stuff. I can imagine similar this evening.
Well, for those fans who are just joining us right now, it's time to have a look at the team once again. So if you pay attention to your screens right now, we'll show you how both teams line up, starting with Leicester City. And there is the lineup for you, as really we've spoken about. You'll have to wind back a bit to hear us talk about Hamza Chowdhury slipping into the right back position, and Ricardo finding himself at number 8 for Leicester City today, but a strong side nonetheless. And Tom Cannon, strong on form, right at the top, ready to score goals for Leicester City today. A quick look at the bench there: Stolarczyk, Cody, Doyle, Jamie Vardy is back on the bench. Big boost for Leicester City. Or Brighton, Pratt, Yunus, Markal and Nelson will make up the rest of that one. It's big for Leicester City having Vardy back on the bench, guys.
It's massive. I mean, I asked you earlier because I hadn't seen the bench, so that's a massive plus for I'm looking at the two wingers tonight. Mamadidi absolutely gave Harrison Clark, Ipswich's right back, on Boxing Day. He absolutely tormented him in the first half. He didn't know which way to turn. McAteer, he will have his hands full with Leif Davis. I don't think any player's created more goals and no player's got more assists than Davis in the Championship. So he gives you loads going forward. So Casey's going to have to do his defensive work as well, but I think he can definitely get him going forward, can Casey.
You're right to hear about that being a strong team, though. When you consider the amount of players that are out injured, suspended,
some at African as well,
nations, and look at the players on the bench: Cody, Vardy,
Albrighton,
Pratt, Albrighton, Pratt. Surprised me really. I don't know the situation behind the scenes, but for me, it'll be a good option for if it doesn't work out with Ricardo tonight. There's Yunus as well, obviously, and the depth of squad it's got to work in Leicester's favour over the long haul.
Pratt staying here is a steal for Leicester City. He's a Belgian international, and he's playing off the bench in the Championship, but quiet, go about his business and do a great job for the City.
But he's got a contractual situation, hasn't he? I think, but so you always sort of have to be aware of that. But I mean, Maresca spoke very highly of him, saying he's probably a most natural partner in terms of actual ability to play the joint 8 role with Dewsbury Hall in tandem. So if that doesn't give him enough encouragement and incentive to get himself in the mix, then what will? But good options as always. Leicester City have.
Well, let's take a look at the Ipswich team now. That has also been announced for us. If you take a look at your screens now, we should see Ipswich Town starting 11 there for you. Anything stick out for you guys in that lineup for you today? Of course, Travis, as we've already mentioned, he's making a start. I believe it's his debut for Ipswich Town. The bench, they've got Twanzebe there as well. Sarmiento, also their loanee signing, ready to get into the action. Anything else jump out to you there, fellas?
I mean, there's no George Hurst, and he's a handful. I think they'll miss his presence up front. Caden Jackson, I mean, I don't think he's the answer at this level, in all honesty, even though he scored one of the goals against Sunderland. Connor Chaplin, I mean, he has to be looked after. He played that number 10 role. 9 goals in 27 games, 26 in 45 last season. There's no Nathan Broadhead. I think that's a plus for Leicester.
That was the case in the opposite game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
A lot of people surprised at that.
I think it was Harness that started on that left-hand side, but Nathan Broadhead, I might be a bit biased seeing that he's a Welshman. I think he's been tremendous in the last 12 months Ipswich. So
People will be scratching their heads at that a little bit, won't they? But
I think they've got a new partnership in the centre in the heart of their defence as well. Edmondson, I don't think he started too many games this season for Ipswich, so that will be an interesting one.
But in terms of like Broadbent there and Harness, and I mean, is that a sign? Because people were saying that McKenna would have been a little bit more conservative even in the home game, rather than going all out assault.
Taking it,
Yeah,
taking
giving that bit of respect that Jerry Taggart spoke about to Leicester. And again, tonight, is that part of the reason in there? Possibly so. Because on the other flank as well, they need to be aware of that, because you're right, Mavididi really threatened to expose Clark on numerous occasions, didn't he? And they tightened it up second half, didn't they?
What's the most exciting matchup on the pitch for you, Ewan?
On the spot there.
I mean, you look at the midfield battle, and you always say that 9 times out of 10, whoever wins their individual battles in midfield. I mean, Dewsbury Hall against Lewis Travis. You know, as I say, I like Travis. He's a young lad, but he's got quite a lot of experience for such a young person. You know, up against Dewsbury Hall, has had a magnificent season up to now. I mean, the winner of that midfield battle will be key, and in my opinion, will go on to win the match.
Well, now you've had time to think about it, Matthew. Who was your best matchup?
No, I think, you know, there's good matchups right across the board, isn't there? But for me, I think if you're going on individuality, I'm looking at the wide players and the fullbacks. Wide players of Leicester, against the Ipswich Town fullbacks. You know, we just mentioned there about Clark. He had his hands full with Mavididi. If Mavididi is on his game, he's going to need some assistance, is Clark. But on the other side, McAteer coming in, you mentioned it about Davis, you know, getting forward and bombing on and providing assists. McAteer's got to try and make him be worried about him as much. But having said that, if Davis does go forward, there's no better man to track him back than McAteer, because he works his socks off.
Well, you mentioned Mavididi. Our commentator, Chris Parrott, he's pitch side talking to Stephen Mavididi himself.
Steffi, big night ahead here at King Power Stadium. How much are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The whole team's looking forward to it. You know, it's a big game, and we've prepared well, and we're just excited to get going.
It was a tight and fairly technical game on Boxing Day against Ipswich. Are you expecting a similar occasion this evening?
Obviously it helps that we've played them recently, so we know what we need to do to get a result, and we've got a game plan, and we're just going to stick to it and see what we can come away with at the end of the game.
Scored a fantastic goal at Portman Road. If you're in that position again, do you fancy doing the same this evening under the lights here?
Well, of course. If I get in the same position again, then I'll back myself.
Enzo mentioned on Friday that Kieran Dewsbury Hall was a doubt, but he is fit. How big a boost for you and the rest of the players is it to have Kieran in the heart of midfield tonight?
Yeah, no, he's an important player for us. And he's got like, lots of qualities. So especially for us attackers, obviously it's a big boost for us. And we just want to go out and play and just try to get a victory.
Cool, calm, collected, Steffi Mavididi. Well, we're running out of time here on our Fox's pre-game match day live. Ewan, very quickly then, score prediction from yourself.
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Leicester City win. I look at Leicester's home form, 9 wins out of 10, not conceding goals at home. Ipswich in a little bit of a slump. Foxes win.
3-1 from Ewan. What about yourself,
Yeah,
Matty?
I don't like to agree with Jerry Taggart too often. I'm going to go 2-1 myself, home win. Just about in a real tight game.
No clean sheets from our pundits then, but nonetheless, both, including Jerry Taggart, having Leicester City win today. Well, we hope you enjoy the game. It's now time to hand over after the break to our commentary team, to Chris Parrott and Jerry Taggart.
If you are watching on lcfc.com, just sit back and relax. If you are watching on social media, the live stream will finish shortly. If you want to continue enjoying our coverage, you'll need to head over to lcfc.com/Foxes Hub and purchase one of our game passes. If you are watching in a territory where the game isn't live on TV, you'll be able to watch a live video stream on Foxes Hub. Please visit lcfc.com/territories to check. If you can't find your location, live audio commentary is still available. You'll need to have an lcfc.com account before you purchase your Game Pass. If you already have one, please sign in and select your product at lcfc.com/Foxes Hub. Select the Buy button and you'll be taken to the payment page. Once you've followed the simple payment steps, press Continue at the bottom of the screen and you'll be taken to the Foxes Hub homepage. If you purchased a video pass, please select Watch Live from the Foxes Hub drop-down menu. If you purchased a Listen Live pass, please select Listen Live. If you purchased a seasonal or monthly video pass and the game is not being shown in your territory, please select Listen Live. If you are having a payment or technical issue, please email Leicester TV Support at streamamg.com. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the match.
Who wants to join me